My name is Benjamin Elliott, and I'm an author and a classicist. My love of history started at an early age, and I think it stemmed from that sense of magic to be found in discovery. That's probably why my intrigue was piqued by a conversation I had with a friend of mine, Vlad, when we were both in Serbia. Vlad told me about an ancient peoples from the Balkans called the Vinče. The Vinče culture, as it's better known, emerged during the late Neolithic, or the Stone Age, around 5700 BCE, and were responsible for some of the earliest forms of agriculture, settlements, and copper metallurgy in Europe. The Vinče culture is shrouded in mystery, and new discoveries are being made all the time. So what I want to know is, if this is potentially the cradle of European civilization, why is it not more widely known about? To me, this is important because by understanding who we were in the past, we can better understand who we are today. And understanding is all about knowledge, because knowledge signifies change. And that's what the Vinče culture is all about. It's the changing from who we used to be to who we were going to become. So today we're heading up to Cambridge to see Sir Colin Renfrew, the British archaeologist, and we've got some questions that we've prepared for him. So hopefully he's going to be able to answer those for us to help us expand our knowledge of the Vinče culture and help with our project. So we're here with Dr. Renfrew, who's been very kind and let us come round to his home here, and we're sitting in his garden, which is absolutely beautiful, I must say.
My wife does the gardening.
Oh, she does the gardening?
With some assistance, but not my assistance. I'm not a keen gardener.
So you're just out here to enjoy it?
That's right.
That's it. Excellent. I think what we'll do is we'll start with, I think, probably an introduction. So could you introduce yourself?
Yes, well, I'm Colin Renfrew. I'm an archaeologist, and for many years I've been interested in prehistory, including world prehistory, and I've worked mainly in Greece, in the Cycladic islands of Greece, but I've worked also in the Balkans.
Excellent. Well, and I think that's why we've come here to see you, because our questions are specifically about the Vinče culture from the Balkans. So could you explain to us who the Vinče were, or what Vinče culture is?
Well, the Vinče culture is the culture of the area around the site of Vinče, which is located on the Danube in what is now Serbia. And it's a very interesting location. It's a mound, a settlement mound, formed by many generations of people living on the site. That's how a settlement mound forms. They call them tell mounds in the Near East, and some of them reach very great depths by successive occupation, and the site of Vinče is interesting for a number of reasons, one of which is the very early development of copper metallurgy, which developed there really before it developed to any significant extent in the Near East. And so it's the independent development, the autonomous development of a copper age in that part of the Balkans.
Excellent. Well, that actually answers my second question, which was, why are they so important? And why is this period so important? But something I read about was what's referred to as the Vinče symbols, or Danube script, and that it's been referred to as a proto-writing. Am I right in saying that?
It has been referred to as that. I don't think very persuasively. They certainly did use symbols, and they used symbols in groups occasionally, but I don't think they were using a string of symbols to reflect a string of words in a language. And so I don't think it really was a writing in that sense.
So basically the Vinče symbols, they don't have a syllabic value?
Correct.
Okay, interesting. Well, it seems that a lot of what's talked about as far as the Vinče culture is concerned is copper. This seems to be the really big topic. To what extent do you think the discovery of copper had on changing the character of Vinče culture?
I'm not sure that it did to any vast extent. Now, obviously, they got very good at working copper. They got very good indeed at casting copper. So they made some very, to us, sophisticated tools, including shaft hole tools, where there was a hole in the object itself, which you could put a wooden shaft in, and so that allowed you to use it as an axe hammer or axe adze. When people realized, with the development of radiocarbon dating, that these are some of the earliest copper tools in the world, and are much earlier than the tools you would find at Troy, for instance. And so it always impresses one, it continues to impress one today, that what one finds at early Vinče is fully 1,500 years older than what you find at Troy.
Excellent. Of course, I'm going to come on to this, is what's referred to as the Lady of Alexandrovac. Could you tell us a little bit more about the significance of the Lady of Alexandrovac?
Well, for me, she's a very impressive find. She's substantially large, and she's very beautifully made. And because you see it's really a bust and a head, so it's impressive in just the same way as a bust of the Renaissance period, of the European Renaissance would be. So she has this wonderful allure which makes her a very fascinating person. Quite what she represents is not clear, but she's very likely to be a goddess figure. And it's because she's so imposing that I think she's a wonderful work of art, and one which I take my hat off to.
Well, certainly. Speaking of this, maybe goddesses and gods, do you know anything about the ritualistic nature of Vinče culture? Did they have a pantheon of gods? Did they have any ritual practices that we know of?
Well, there's been a lot written about this, and one of the great enthusiasts in this area was my friend Maria Gimbutas. She had an imagination or a skill which made her feel she could identify different deities in a pantheon of goddesses and gods. But I think it's quite difficult to follow her in that, and so I wouldn't be quite as specific in ascribing identities to individual deities there. But she was very creative and knew the material very well, so she was a very considerable scholar, and her views are to be taken very seriously.
Sure. Is there anything that I haven't touched on that you would like to talk about in relation to Vinče culture that you think's important?
I think we've touched on it already. I think what's worth saying, sort of by way of summary, is that these people were, as no doubt people are more widely, very creative. They were among those who developed the earliest flourishing copper metallurgy, which was true in Bulgaria also. As I say, the Gumelnica culture is the contemporary of the Vinče culture. It's all part of the Southeast European Copper Age, and I think that they produce copper artifacts. They obviously had a sophisticated culture. We use the term civilization rather more sparingly when we're talking of cities and so on, but whether we call it a civilization or a culture, I think it was very impressive, and one of the very early and impressive manifestations of human creativity.
Excellent. That's a wonderful way to sum it up. Dr. Renfrew, thank you very much for your time. It's been very enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
What I've learnt from my conversation with Dr. Renfrew is that the Vinče people belong to a highly diverse and complex culture, capable not just of intricate metallurgy, but also exceptionally gifted in artistic and societal endeavours. I'll be interested to see what other experts have to say when I get to Serbia. After a long and delayed journey, I finally reach Belgrade, but there's no time to rest. Vlad collects me in the car and we make our way west to the Neolithic copper mine of Rudna Glava to follow up on the conversation I had with Dr. Renfrew about the metallurgical discoveries of the Vinče people. But firstly, we are stopping in the nearby city of Bor to visit a museum we have kindly been given permission to film in, and where we will also be meeting with Igor Jovanovic, curator of the prehistoric period at the museum, who will be giving us a short presentation.
Bor i šira okolina su od davnina poznati kao oblast ogromnog rudnog blaga i rudarske tradicije. Baš na ovom mestu su pre više od 7000 godina izvođeni rudarski radovi i otvarani prvi rudokopi metalične rude. Najstariji sačuvani trag drevnog rudarstva nalazi se u selu Rudna Glava u blizini Majdanpeka na obližnjem uzvišenju zvanom Okne. Danas, naravno, posle završetka arheoloških radova, znamo da lokalitet Rudnik Dnevni kop, kako se naravno naziva danas ovo arheološko nalazište, predstavlja najstariji rudnik bakra u Evropi i jedan je od najstarijih rudnika bakra na svetu. Znači, ovo mesto, da se tako izrazimo, predstavlja polaznu tačku i oslonac za budući razvoj evropske kulture i civilizacije, odnosno mesto gde je započela revolucija metalnog doba. Osnovna tehnika iskopavanja se sastojala u naglom zagrevanju i hlađenju rude koja je bila pripijena uz te krečnjačke zidove, odnosno uz samu stenu. Ovo se postizalo loženjem vatre u dnu kanala, a zatim je kvašenjem te površine uz pomoć ovih keramičkih posuda. Ta ruda postajala krta i bila lako lomljiva. Zatim su rudari koristili velike kamene alatke, rudarske batove, kojima su ručno ili uz pomoć kanapa razbijali tu rudu i zatim pomoću ovih koštanih alatki, uglavnom od parožaka i jelenskih rogova, prikupljali ih i stavljali u lanene ili kožne vrećice i iznosili na površinu. Na ovom slajdu možemo vidjeti i fotografije iz ranih 80-ih godina sa profesorom, odnosno doktorom, akademikom Borislavom Jovanovićem u jednom od istraženih rudnih okana na lokalitetu Rudna Glava.
What Igor has explained to us is exactly what Dr. Renfrew was talking about back in Cambridge, that the Vinče culture or the Vinče people were a highly complex society. Not only were they capable of copper metallurgy way before the Neolithic period, but they were also producing ceramics. And the ceramics also fall into that bracket of art, which is something we're going to have a little look at now.
Radi se o ovom keramičkom objektu. Postoje dve teorije o njegovom značenju. Po jednoj teoriji pretpostavlja se da je to kultni objekat, objekat koga mi nazivamo žrtvenik na 4 noge sa širokim plitkim recipijentom i držačem u obliku jelenske glave i jelenskih rogova. Dakle, imao je neku kultnu namenu, kultnu primjenu. Po drugoj teoriji radi se o lampi koja je korišćena u dubinama rudarskih okana koji su rudari koristili za osvetljenje tokom svojih radova.
Thank you very much. What I think is really important here also is that this, whatever it is, shows a very distinct cultural and artistic expression. And like all really good art, it's nothing to do with its external qualities, but its internal nature. After picking up our guide, we headed up into the hills until the car couldn't go any further and the dirt road ended. On foot, we began to find signs of malachite and azurite in the rocks beneath our feet.
Arheološke oznake koje su ostale, tu vidiš što je okno broj 3, okno broj 4 tamo. Ovdje okno 2G. Ovdje.
It was a difficult climb, but when we reached the top, I began to understand not just the way Rudnaglava looks as a Neolithic mine, but began to realise how truly industrious the Vinče people must have been. So, we've just seen a couple of the actual mine shafts that the Vinče used, and we've actually even managed to find some ore with malachite in it, which is what they would have been looking for. Now, we came up here in the car mostly. We've only had to do, 10 minutes of climbing? The Vinče people would have had to have come up here on foot and carried baskets of this back down with them for smelting. That's how much this stuff meant to them. This is how important this was. That they took the effort and the time to come up here, and the danger as well. I nearly slipped and fell over the edge several times to get this stuff. Thank you for bringing us up here. This is good. There's so much of it. We're literally just walking over it. It's incredible. It's amazing to think that actually around the 5th millennium BC, there were people up here. And who knows what kind of conversations people would have been having, or whether there would have been this sort of buzz of excitement as a huge chunk of ore was discovered. Who knows? All that's left, though, are the ghosts of the past. And the rocks that remain. If these rocks could speak, I wonder what they'd tell us. This is a good first day. It's a good first day. And now we've lost our guide. Pločnik is a 120-hectare settlement belonging to Vinče culture. The settlement was inhabited from around 5,500 BC to 4,700 BC. First discovered in 1927, it was only sporadically excavated, but in 1996, far more extensive excavations were carried out. What is significant about this site, apart from its size, is the metal workshop with furnaces and copper tools. Also, figurines were found that are supposedly representative of deities. These 3 points alone indicate a highly organized, highly sophisticated people with an intricate social structure. I'm here with Julka Svetkovic, did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Archaeologist here at Pločnik. Could you tell us about Pločnik?
Pločnik je ogroman lokalitet, prostire se na 100-ak hektara, to je velika površina, istražuje se već 90 godina, međutim još uvijek ne znamo mnogo o Pločniku. Otkriven je naravno slučajno prilikom izgradnje železničke pruge. Tad su železničari spakovali 4 kutije materijala, onako u kutije, poslali za Beograd. U Narodnom muzeju su to pregledali. Već sledeće godine su započeta prva zaštitna arheološka istraživanja u našoj državi. Radio je kolega Grbić. I ono što je otkrio bilo je prosto neverovatno za čitav svet. Imali su 2 ostave bakarnih predmeta među neolitskom keramikom i kamenim artefaktima, tako da to prosto nije bilo spojivo jedno s drugim. Metal u Pločniku ne može nikako. Smatralo se da je to iz nekih kasnih slojeva, prosto da je upalo u neolitski sloj. Međutim, ono što je iznenadilo ljude, to su fantastične figurine, vrlo lepe keramičke posude, izuzetan alat. Sve je to ukazivalo na jedno značajno nalazište.
Okay. So would you say then this is a fully fledged, I don't want to say town or city because this is more of a modern concept, but would you say that this is a fully functioning society with all the things required for living?
Da. Znači, ovo je bilo veliko nalazište i ono što otkrivamo prateći, kopajući sonde, vidimo da je, recimo, zapadni deo lokaliteta, to je na ovu stranu, da je industrijski deo, tu su uglavnom radionice, tu je pronađen sav bakar, oko 50 bakarnih artefakata, a ovaj deo na istočnu stranu je za stanovanje. Tu je više kuća i kad smo poslednjih godina radili georadar, videlo se da postoji veliki broj kuća, osnova kuća, da su tu ljudi živjeli vrlo intenzivno i verovatno to bio nekakav centar oko koga se razvijao niz satelitskih naselja u okruženju. Na 10 km, na 5 km, na 20 km, u zavisnosti od toga šta su mogli ljudi tamo da rade. Jer ovo je očigledno bila gradska sredina gdje je ljudima trebalo doneti hranu, trebalo je doneti nešto čime će se odevati, pokrivati. Znači, to je bila neka metropola u praistoriji.
Okay. Would you say then there's a very distinct difference between the people of Vinče culture and other Neolithic cultures across Europe?
Čini se da. Iako ima nekih sličnosti, nekih dodirnih tačaka, Vinča je potpuno specifična. I ono što je tek tema za istraživanja na području vinčanske kulture, znači Srbija, Severna Makedonija, Zapadna Bugarska, Zapadna Rumunija, nešto malo juga Mađarske, deo Bosne i Hercegovine. Znači na čitavom tom području su potpuno iste posude. Vrlo su slične figurine, vrlo slično ljudi žive. Vi po jednom komadu keramike možete da prepoznate da je to vinčanska kultura. Po figurinama se prepoznaje da je to vinčanska kultura. Dakle, ostaje nam da razmišljamo da li je to bila neka vrsta države, neka vrsta socijalne zajednice, velike socijalne zajednice, gde su ljudi imali, verovatno, ili imali uzorke, ili imali iste centre za proizvodnju, ili prepisivali jedni od drugih, ali očigledno da su komunicirali gde su bili svi oslonjeni jedni na druge i gde su živeli malo drugačije u odnosu na ostali svet.
So the thing is, where we are at the moment is in Pločnik, and some of the things I've read about Pločnik are that there was suddenly a point where it was abandoned and the buildings were burnt.
Da.
And suddenly that's it. So I've been trying to ask other people this question, and it's very difficult to get an answer, which is something's happened. Something's happened in the Vinča world to cause these very dramatic actions. Where do you think the Vinča went? What happened?
Pločnik i najveći broj neolitskih nalazišta su stradili u strahovitom požaru. Stanovništvo je verovatno stiglo da se skloni, ali mi ovde nismo našli ni jednu nekropolu. Nismo našli ni jedan grob ovde. Nismo našli ni jedno nasilno ubijanje ili bilo kakav trag nekakve bitke. Pre su ljudi pokupili ono što su mogli da ponesu i otišli negde dalje i nastavili da žive onako kako su mogli.
Thank you very much. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
From what I've learnt here today at Pločnik, the Vinča people are more than just a piece of history. They are human beings doing what human beings do best. Not just existing on the land, but interacting with it with creativity and innovation. We're here with Sanja Krasić, who is a Serbian archaeologist, and she's responsible for having found the Vita figurine in August of 2019 in a place called
Vitkovačko polje.
There we go. There we go. That's where it was found, which is near to a place called Aleksandrovac. And the figure is dated to maybe be around 7,000 years old, so very old, and it belongs to Vinča culture. So could you tell us a little bit about the discovery and why it is so important for our understanding of Vinča culture?
Figura je pronađena u toku zaštitnih arheoloških istraživanja na Vitkovačkom polju 2019. godine i taj nalaz je zapravo potpuno iz zemlje izašao vrlo čudesno. Naime, u vrlo uskom rovu koji je bio 70 cm širine, na zadnjeg dana, u zadnjem satu bukvalno arheoloških istraživanja na lokalitetu, samo odjednom su počeli da izlaze fragmenti izuzetno značajne figure, a to smo već videli po tome što je torzo same figure u celosti očuvan. Shvatili smo da će ta figura biti izuzetno velika. Ubrzo su se pojavili fragmenti tog postamenta, te klupe na kojoj figura sedi i sve odlike su već u samom danu otkrića bile jasne. Zapravo, bilo je jasno da se radi o toj južnoj ili kosovskoj varijanti vinčanske kulture, jer je figura sa Vitkovačkog polja analogna figurama pronađenim na lokalitetu Predionica kod Prištine, Fafos kod Kosovske Mitrovice i drugim lokalitetima na području Kosova i Metohije. Nakon završenog terenskog rada, figura je naravno išla u proces konzervacije i restauracije i tada smo došli do finalnih podataka, a to je da je ona visine 54 cm, što je čini najvišom figurom rađenom od pečene zemlje.
Vinča figurines seem to be they seem to be the thing that generates the most excitement. Everybody's like, oh, okay, well, we found some copper ore. Okay, fine, but we know this. But the moment a figurine pops up out of the earth, everybody goes mad. Why do you think? Why is that the case?
Pa meni se čini da ipak te figure, si sad onako jedan nenaučni stav, ali zrače posebno i ljudi uvek dobro reaguju na te figure. Uvek je wow! Ali vidi kako su lepe. To je ono neki moment i ljudi komuniciraju. Osjećam da komuniciraju sa figurama i da pronalaze neku svoju žicu i neku svoju identifikaciju zapravo sa tim figurama.
Well, Sanja, thank you very much. That's been very enlightening and yeah, thank you for your time.
Hvala vama. Dođite nam opet.
So we're here at the Museum of Alexandrovac, but unfortunately it's closed for restoration. And that also means we're not going to be able to see the famous figure, which is called the Lady of Alexandrovac, which again is another big figurine attributed to the Vinče culture. But Ivan Bobaric is here, and he's going to let us in, and he's going to show us the Vita figurine that we spoke about yesterday with Sanja Krasic. It's always exciting to see these statues, and it's like I was saying to Sanja, I only get to see these online, but to actually see these in the flesh,
yes,
is very, very exciting. And for me, when I see the lines and the curves, it speaks of a people who had to me, an intricate understanding of the world around them and this relationship with the world around them. They understood life, and you can see it in these figures. Would you agree?
Tako je, tako je. Kao što vidite te fine linije, kao što ste sami rekli, to zaista nam pokazuje i dokazuje da su ljudi pre 7000 godina bili itekako, pa možda i na mnogo većem stepenu razvoja nego što mi to danas mislimo.
That's incredible. So, do you think there are other statues like this to be discovered, or do you reckon you'll find other unique items?
Da, apsolutno. Znači, prilikom iskopavanja, što im je Sanja vjerovatno rekla, lokalne kanalizacije, kada je kopana figurina, pronađena je noga od druge statue koja je tu negde u blizini, što naravno ovogodišnje iskopavanje, evo za koji dan koje kreću, upravo krećemo sa tog mesta kako bi pronašli i drugu. A mi ne znamo šta će ta iskopavanja sve da donesu, ali ja sam ubeđen da će biti još dovoljno, dosta tih statua koje će biti pronađene na ovom prostoru.
That's wonderful, and I love the way that this figurine is actually sitting on something.
Da, ona
this is good.
Da.
Yeah. Of course, there's so much we could talk about. Not just about the figurine here, or the statue, sorry, but Vinče culture as well.
Da.
So, is there anything that you would like to add that I haven't covered?
Pa dobro, eto, malo pre smo pomenuli da je to centar. U stvari, pokojni akademik, čuveni arheolog Borisav Jovanović je u jednom prilikom i rekao, boraveći ovde, da je Vitkovo pronađeno pre Vinče, čitava kultura bi se zvala Vitkovar.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to me.
Today we are meeting with Dr. Miroslav Kočić, historian and archaeologist. He has agreed to show us a few Vinče sites in Kragujevac, central Serbia. I'm not entirely sure what to expect, but from what I have heard, this area has yielded some extremely interesting and highly relevant finds that have helped expand our understanding of the Neolithic period here in the Balkans. Hello, Dr. Kočić.
Absolutely, Ben.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
And you too. And you too. This is an incredible area here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we jokingly call Šumadija fire belt. So basically, we are standing right underneath one of the extinguished volcanoes, which
this is a volcano?
Absolutely.
So what are the major sites around here?
So the two most important sites are Krivac and Kusovac. One is some 5 kilometers from where we are standing now, the other 7 kilometers in the other direction. And these are the two huge Vinče sites. Both of them were dated by radiocarbon methods, and we know that they started 5,300, so earliest Vinče, and then spring through entire Vinče existence.
That's incredible. So they basically predate the pyramids? Stonehenge?
Absolutely.
Babylon?
Absolutely.
Wow. Is there any chance that you can take us to one of these sites?
Absolutely. We can go right now.
Good, because it's going to rain.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
So we are now actually on the beginning of the Kusovac site, which dates during the Vinče period. It dates to 5,300 BC to 4,600 BC. But what is remarkable for this particular site is also it has a large Starčevo occupation before it.
Oh, so the culture that predated the Vinče.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things that was noticeable for this particular site is the sheer amount of stone tools and flint as a resource.
Okay.
And even more interesting, this isn't something that is only connected to Vinče culture, but actually starts in Starčevo. So the specialization of this site started even before the Vinče got with its proto-urbanization and all of it. And now we are beginning to start with Vinče material. Here you have one, not that nice, but actually nice-ish. It's a piece of a bowl.
I was going to say,
rim.
you can see the curvature.
Exactly, it's a rim of a... And
This as well?
Absolutely, it's all pottery.
And here,
So from this site we had around 16,000 artifacts from surface.
how many?
16,000. You can just see all over that we are walking on pottery.
I'm trying to listen to you, and at the same time I'm looking at the ground, and all of these things are just, they're jumping up at me. It's incredible.
This is exactly the thing.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So is this Starčevo?
No, this is
This is Vinče.
So what is remarkable about this fragment in particular is three things are going on. So first thing, the amount of pyrotechnical knowledge that Vinče people acquired and had is remarkable, because you get these polychromes, polychrome vessels where you see the shades of red, shades of gray that go into the shades of yellow. This was all done only by firing technique.
Okay.
So where you're firing one pot in 3 different temperatures and 3 different techniques.
Okay.
This is
got it.
something that Japanese pottery is famous for now.
Yeah.
And we have
But it's
this-
happening here.
Exactly, it's happening here some 7,000 years ago. One thing that all of the specialists are just amazed with when they come to Vinče sites is with the amount of material, because it is hard to describe or give a reasonable explanation why were they producing so much pottery, because we don't see this amount of production not even in Rome and what is basically industrial scale production, but what we see is, oh Jesus Christ.
Okay, what's this? This is incredible.
This is incredible, and it's a polished stone axe with a hole in the middle.
I think I just have to try and illustrate that, just for the benefit of anyone, well, the people watching this, just coming across a polished stone axe just on the surface is just, in Britain that doesn't happen. It genuinely doesn't. And here, there's such a prolific amount of material.
And I wanted to show you one more thing.
Of course.
That we are still trying to find a proper way to transport it. You get things like this. And the reason why they are here and on many other places around the site is because the villagers that are working these fields were breaking plows. These were in topsoil. And you can see this is the work surface of the grinding stone. These have been polished by human action.
You can actually, I know the camera's probably not picking this up, but this is exceedingly smooth.
Absolutely, that has been grinded upon with even, one of my favorite things with this piece is these dimples.
I was going to say, what are these?
I have no idea, and I wouldn't like to.
You wouldn't like to speculate on something.
Wouldn't like to speculate,
no, fair
but
enough.
This hasn't been recorded on any site of Vinče culture or any other culture, for that sake. Just something this big.
Wow. Thank you for bringing us up here.
Absolutely.
This is just something else.
Now we can head to the other side. Of
Okay. Lead the way.
Okay, let's go. Right in this field where we see modern agriculture happening, there are 7 lines of these fortifications that are enclosing this whole area. So now imagine we are now seeing just a couple of houses, and there's a very lively sort of a community. Imagine if we are now looking at 700 houses, each one housing at least 8 people in it.
And you said that this community stretches all the way up to that house over there, right over in the
no, the
hill.
house is on the hill, over in the distance.
Over in the distance, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a huge area where you can imagine a whole town being placed and living and sharing with a couple of thousand people, just working together and inventing and creating. And also one more thing that we need to take into account, if the cattle herding was the mainstay of this culture, we also need to imagine thousands of cattle just here, and that symbiosis of animals and humans, because animals are not just an object that is sprung around the landscape. This is what also structures the life itself on the site.
Speaking of function and structure then, what's the future hold for this site and the work that you're doing here?
So the plan is to continue these projects, developing new and innovative technologies, working more with IT technologies and all machine learning to get more and more data and to include more and more institutions over here, because this is something that generations of universities can be doing, but we need novel approaches and innovative approaches, just the ones that we applied so far, and then just expanding it even further.
Using the innovation of the future to discover the innovation of the past.
Exactly.
Miroslav, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Absolutely.
After a long drive back to Belgrade, we get a few hours sleep before we head out to Vinče Brdo, the site Vladimir Jakšić discovered in 1905, and from which Vinče culture gets its name.
Bravo, dobrodošao, Ben.
Meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we're going up to the museum?
Yes.
Excellent. Lead the
Please.
way. What strikes me the most about my journey across Serbia is the passion and enthusiasm people have for this period. At the mere mention of Vinče, people spring into life and reach out to me to share what they know. It is quite evident that the Vinče period excites interest both in the expert and layman alike. I'm here with Dragan Jankovic.
Jankovic.
Okay, got it right. And we're here at the museum at Vinče Brdo. And Dragan has been very kind in giving us his time, and he's very busy, so we'll keep it as brief as possible. But again, thank you. So, from most of the people we've spoken to, they have talked a great deal about ceramics. They've talked a great deal about the figurines. They've talked a great deal about settlements and agriculture. But something that we haven't really touched on is personal adornments, things like clothing and jewellery. What can you tell us about that section of Vinče culture?
Rezultati iskopavanja u Vinči i na ostalim lokalitetima iz tog perioda govore da su ljudi u neolitu imali jako visoku kulturu življenja. Imali su visoku kulturu stanovanja, imali su izuzetnu ishranu, znači oni su se nekako hranili kako to nama danas nutricionci preporučuju. Tako da su oni već tada krenuli i da prave odeću tkanjem. Već su imali laneno platno od koga su pravili i lanene prostirke za svoje krevete i normalno odeću. Mi smo pronašli jako puno podataka o njihovoj odeći. Našli smo i otiske tkanina, tako da imamo dokaz da su tkali. A na figurinama se vidi čak i prikaz njihove odeće. Znači, oni već tada imaju, to se sve može vidjeti na figurinama, i dvodelne komplete, čak i neke modne detalje koji su bili popularni tada i danas, to je V izraz. Na jednoj figurini je prikazana dama koja na sebi ima kratku suknju iznad kolena i čarape do kolena. Tako da negde možemo komotno reći da su oni negde kreirali ovu našu savremenu modu i da je naša savremena moda vrlo slična ovoj neolitskoj.
So, do you think that this has emerged because of this new sedentary way of living? They now have the time to pursue these things, whereas before, during the Mesolithic, they may not have done.
Apsolutno, jer neolit je vreme kada ljudi proizvode hranu. U drugoj polovini neolita su ljudi proizvodili mnogo više hrane nego što je to bilo potrebno i samim tim jedan deo njih je oslobođen proizvodnje hrane, tako da su oni imali mnogo više vremena za neke druge aktivnosti i druge delatnosti. Nisu više bili opterećeni preživljavanjem, nego su imali dovoljno vremena da mnogo više vremena izdvoje za sebe i svoju porodicu.
It would be an insult for us not to mention Vladimir Jakšić, but can you tell me how is his legacy viewed here in Serbia and with relation to Brdo?
Vladimir Jakšić je naš prvi školovani arheolog i on je započeo iskopanje ovde još 1908. I on je istražio samo jedan deo lokaliteta i ono što je zanimljivo, on je bio izuzetno svestan koliko ovo nalazište ima veliki značaj i on je publikovao sve ono što je iskopao u vodećim svetskim arheološkim časopisama. Znači, on je već počeo s publikovanjem od 1909. godine i zahvaljujući upravo tom njegovom radu i tome što je on sve to publikovao, ceo svet je praktično čuo za Vinču. Tako da je njegov doprinos izuzetno veliki i značajan.
Okay, that's great. It's nice that he's viewed as a hero. Archaeology has had more traction today than it has in the past. So it's nice that you have a national hero who's an archaeologist and an academic. In this modern world, that's a good thing. But in relation to Brdo, what are your hopes for the future and the future of archaeology on this site?
Mi smo ovdje istražili samo jedan manji deo lokaliteta. I ono šta nas čeka u budućnosti je sigurno nastavak iskopavanja. Znači da nastavimo iskopavanja i da upotpunimo znanja o ovom nalazištu i o tom vremenu i o toj kulturi. Međutim, jako je bitno i važno da na adekvatan način prezentujemo i zaštitimo nalazište.
I wish you all the luck here in the future. And Dragan, thank you for your time. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
The last Monday we had webcast, the Public Broadcasting Corporation here filming the documentary.
What, sorry?
Scientific Public Broadcasting webcast. And we opened up this section here where we do actually have burned remains of a house and a kiln and structures, etc. and a wall that's standing like this.
Graciously, I have been allowed to spend a few days here at Brdo. Everyone has been very keen to impart their knowledge, and I have been made very welcome, even though extremely important work is underway. Currently, part of the site is at risk of collapse, and there is a dig to recover as much from the ground as possible. I'm here with Professor Jakšić here at Vinče Brdo, and it's a real honour to be not just here, but to be with the professor himself. Could you just tell us a little bit about this site, in your own words?
In Vinče's case, it's probably the curve that goes from the north and goes to the south of the river Danube, which makes this place so not only that they can follow who's coming from which side all the time, they are monitoring the Danube in some 12 kilometers of the Danube they are monitoring, but also being on this slightly risen mount, they are seen from all over the place. So everyone who decided to go to make some trade or travel or find himself a wife knew that there was someone here in Vinča, so they could make a stop, they can do the trading there, and Vinča established itself very early as a trading center for this region, and even further than that.
Because you find ochre and obsidian here, don't you?
And seashells.
And seashells. And are those tradable goods for these people?
So not only that they produced locally from the Mount Avala, this cinnabar, but also their everyday manufacturing of pottery, of polished stone implements, of chipstone, of probably textiles and woods, which we unfortunately did not find here. But the level of this artisanship is tremendous. It's unique in this region.
Yes, when I've looked at some of the Vinča vessels and Vinča pottery, it's not just their shape, it's their ornamentation. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's unique. It's unique to these people, which is a fabulous expression in a physical sense of who they are and what they're making.
Exactly, and not only social, also biological. That's
biological.
That's what I wanted to say. How do we know that? Well, archaeologists have spotted early on that there is much more population inhabiting certain regions as soon as Neolithic period starts. So we call it population boom. There are many explanations for that, but the most important is survival of infants, which is probably due to existence of infant nutrition supplements and also very controlled conditions for giving a childbirth. It's an interesting also that during breastfeeding, women experience something called lactation amenorrhea, which is something that they cannot get pregnant, at least while they are breastfeeding. So if in previous hunter-gatherer societies, breastfeeding period typically lasted until third or even fourth year, so women were not fertile during that period, while in Neolithic, when you have infant nutrition supplement, you can actually shorten it. So before the Neolithic, human species was the one who reproduced successfully every 4 years, and now during the Neolithic, it's shortened at least 2 years or even sooner. So that's what it means that the Neolithic made a biological difference in humanity.
We've got just one last little thing, and it's a little bit of a surprise for you. I remember our last discussion we had when we were last here. You talked about Sir Charles Hyde, who had been given a collection by Vladimir Jakšić back in the 1930s to say thank you for helping fund the digs here. You said that you didn't know where they were, what happened. I've done a bit of my own digging, and I've managed to find where those artifacts are and how many there are.
Really?
All of them they're no longer in Birmingham. They're now in London, in the British Museum. And there are 232 items logged, having been donated by Sir Charles Hyde himself. There's, to my knowledge, most of these are kept so they belong to the Department of Britain, Europe and Prehistory. But why they haven't done this, there's probably only a small handful of photographs of these things, and I think only one figurine on display at the British Museum. Figures alone, I mean, I've just made a small indicator of what they are. 3 of them are just heads, one is a complete figurine, and one is made up of 2 fragments.
Right.
But still very important.
Worth seeing, photographing.
Well, maybe we can arrange something so that you come out, we meet you, and we have a joint excursion there to, for the first time, to actually video these things, to film them. Professor Tasić, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you too.
The 2 days I have spent at Brdo have opened my eyes to the ongoing work taking place here and the commitment people have to furthering our understanding. Professor Tasic and Dragan Jankovic and their team have left a wonderful impression, and I wish I could have stayed with them longer. The work they are doing is so important and their task monumental, and I wish them all the best and success for the future. Belgrade, the capital, is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Europe, dating back to the 6th millennium BC, and is the point at which the Sava and Danube rivers meet. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you, finally.
He was originally come from here to Mihailova Street. Some 400 or 500 meters.
Oh really? Wow, that's far. Wow. So this here is Roman?
Yes, that's Roman. And Neolithic house is here.
Oh, it's in here? It's a shame we can't see it, but it's amazing, isn't it? That
we can try.
Yes, we'll start digging now. It's amazing, isn't it, that over all of this time, people have just come here, built, gone, come here and built more, gone, new people have come here and built again. It's
here in Kalemegdan, we have Neolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, Roman period, medieval, 7,000 years of layers.
Wow. We're here at the Kalemegdan, which is a historical site in its own right, here in Belgrade. And it's the fortified section of the city. And I'm here with Adam Sinobrinya, who is a doctor of archaeology, and he's kindly agreed to speak with us, actually more specifically about some of his finds at Stublina, which is a very famous Vinče site. And can you tell us a little bit about the relevance of Stublina?
U Srbiji znamo za više stotina arheoloških lokaliteta, neolitskih lokaliteta. Međutim, Stubline su specifične po tome što kada smo pristupili njihovim istraživanjima, geomagnetskim i tako dalje, po prvi put smo uspeli da vidimo čitavu strukturu jednog vinčanskog naselja. Kako je ono bilo organizovano, kako su se branili, kakav je međusobni odnos kuća i tako dalje. I polako, otkrivajući, istražujući, počeli smo da naslućujemo da je to malo bolja organizacija nego što smo ranije mislili. Međutim, nekada vas posluži sreća. Tako da na Stublinama smo došli do jednog jako značajnog otkrića koji sačinjavaju 43 vinčanske figurine, atipično izrađene, to nisu standardne vinčanske figurine, već onako poprilično jednostavno izgledaju, od kojih je 11 njih imalo alatke na svome ramenu. I to je jako interesantno. Znači, na makroplanu imamo strukturu jednog naselja. Tu možemo pretpostavimo kuda su im išle ulice, kako su izgledali trgovi. Vidimo da su bili okrenuti ka zajedničkim prostorima, da je tu malo prostora za individualnost, iskazivanje individualnosti. Međutim, tek sa ovim nalazom figurina smo to videli na jednom mikroplanu. Pošto isti čoveka koji je odlučio da napravi tako organizovano naselje, koje se opet uklapa u čitavu mrežu naselja, je istu takvu organizaciju projektovao i u mikroskali, odnosno u aranžmanu te 43 figurine, gde imamo jednu centralnu, 6 figurina okolo, druge grupe. I ono što je jako interesantno jeste upravo to da nema individualnih karakteristika. Mi ne znamo da li su to muške ili ženske figurine. Da li je neko bio značajniji ili manje značajan, pošto oni nemaju ni tragove odeće. Međutim, i one su grubo rađene, ali su jako fino rađene alatke koje su oni nosili, koje su potpune modeli onih alatke koje mi znamo u skali 1:1 sa lokaliteta. I u stvari se tu može naslutiti da je čitavoj toj zajednici bilo značajno kakav doprinos pojedinac može da da određenoj zajednici u kojoj živi, a ne njegove individualne karakteristike. Jednostavno, čitav taj način života malo podsjeća na sadašnje, ono što mi imamo u Evropi u posljednje 4000 godina. Kao da je to neka potpuno drugačija civilizacija, potpuno drugačija kultura, koja je, nažalost, prestala da postoji pre 6600 godina.
When it comes to our understanding of this period, and Vinče culture and the Neolithic cultures of the Balkans in the West, we're not very, or I would say we're not very aware of this particular period from this region. We are, of course, very familiar with ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. Do you think there is a possibility that Vinče culture and the Vinče civilization will be seen on a level with these other great civilizations in the future?
Ja se iskreno nadam da bi mogla, ali za to je potrebno veća pomoć ljudi kao što ste vi. Mi treba više toga da istražimo da bismo imali šta da pokažemo, ali bez vas teško da možemo da uspemo u tome.
It's worth bearing in mind that actually where we're sitting right now, they recently discovered a Neolithic house, that's right, and it's just behind us, and it just emphasizes how rich this country is as far as its history is concerned. And unfortunately we're unable to see it because it's actually hidden behind a section of wall, but right next to it is some Roman fortifications as well. So this really is an incredible site. Can you recommend any places for us to go?
Verovatno ste čuli za najpoznatije lokalitete kao što su Belo, Brdo, Pločnik i tako dalje. Međutim, ako želite da vidite kako izgledaju ostaci kuća vinčanskih, upravo iskopanih, kozeriranih, treba da odete na lokalitet Drenovac kod Paraćina, gde se razvija centar za proučavanje neolita Pomoravlja. Jer često se govori Dunav, ali za neolit je jako važna Morava, reka Morava. U tom kraju je Drenovac.
Excellent, thank you very much. Adam, Dr. Sanobrinja, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am on my way to the Belgrade Museum to look at the Vinče artifacts they have in their Neolithic exhibition. When you can see how varied even these harpoons are, and these fishing hooks, different sizes, different shapes, probably indicating different functions or different kinds of fish that might need to be caught. It gives you a very good understanding of how well these people understood the environment around them. You have some Vinče blades here as well, ever so small. these axe heads. I mean, people sometimes say about peoples like the Vinče that they were, they weren't capable of creating these kinds of tools or items, and that there must have been some, external influence like aliens or something like that. I think that's a terrible thing to say, because we're not giving ourselves as human beings any credit for incredible achievements of the past. It's kind of like with the pyramids. No, aliens built them. No, they didn't. Humans built them. And I think we should give ourselves a pat on the back for that. And items like this, when people say, no, they couldn't have had the technology to accomplish work like this. Yes, they did. And they were perfectly capable of creating things like this. We should give ourselves some credit. Again, if you can see it, I think they call it a hammer axe, which has this one doesn't appear to be actually complete, although I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on this particular area, but it's if you cast your minds back to what Dr. Miroslav Kocic found in the field, we found half of one of these axes, or these axe heads. This here is a bucranium, and you can see the horns. It's effectively a bull head. The horns are real; they're actually from a real bull, and the head itself is constructed from clay or daub, and moulded around the horns and the crest of the horns. It's probably thought that the Vinče people themselves had an innate respect for the bull, probably representing something masculine, something strong, and to have that in the home where you often find these would have been a potent symbol for the Vinče people themselves. Not only that, but you can also see from the zoomorphic figures that they created as well. Bearing in mind these people were also farmers, so they understood I would say not understanding the taming of animals, but they would have probably understood the distinct difference between a tame animal that you would have had domesticated in your settlement, and then the wild aspects of the world that existed outside of the settlements. And bulls would have played a key part in that as well. Interestingly enough, when I see this particular picture, it's a Vinče figurine with a child in its arms. I always think of the Madonna and Child when I see this. Obviously it's not. It just helps us understand that this is an image, a parent or a mother with her child, which we can only assume here. It's a universal symbol for all human beings. It doesn't matter what time period it comes from. Emotional mindset, I would say. This is Vinče Brdo, picture taken in the early 20th century. I'm not sure which dig this is, whether this is the first one or the second dig from the 1930s. But it's actually nice to see a photo of it like this. The sheer scale and magnitude of the early digs that they did, going down through all of the different layers or horizons. It's also worth bearing in mind that not all of this is Vinče deposits. There are deposits predating Vinče, there are Vinče periods or horizons, and then you also have the medieval period, which, funnily enough, we actually saw them cleaning the bones from the medieval graves from this site. This place is absolutely incredible, and I want to thank the museum for allowing us to film here. Things aren't easy at the moment, so it's been really nice that they've given us the privilege of walking around freely. Our next stop, though, is a place called Drenovac, which is an open archaeological site, and this will give us a really good idea of the floor plan of these Vinče settlements and the way they lived their lives.
Hello, good morning. Okay.
The Neolithic houses excavated at Drenovac are among some of the best preserved in Europe. The site is located in the Middle Morava Valley, about 9 kilometers away from the town of Parachin. Professor Peric, zdravo.
Welcome in Drenovac.
Thank you, thank you. This is incredible.
Yes.
This is really incredible.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about this site here of Drenovac?
Drenovac je jedno od sigurno najznačajnijih neolitskih nalazišta na prostoru centralnog Balkana po nekoliko osnova. Pre svega što pokriva jedan široki hronološki raspon. Najstariji nalazi iz Drenovca datiraju iz 6250 godina pre nove ere i to su najstarija zemljoradnička naselja na prostoru centralnog Balkana. Za sada rezultati naših istraživanja su pokazali da je to rano neolitsko naselje zauzimalo površinu od nekih 5000 metara kvadratnih i da je trajalo negde do 5700 godina pre nove ere. Zatim nastupa jedan hijatus, odnosno prekid života za sada na prostoru koji smo mi istraživali od nekih 300-400 godina, kada se osniva vinčansko naselje iz rane faze vinčanske kulture, znači negde između 5400 i 5300 godina pre nove ere, i vinčansko naselje u kontinuitetu traje negde do 4600, možda 4550 godina pre nove ere.
Can we go down here and have a look?
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. The houses that the Vinče built are incredible feats of Neolithic architecture. Built with foundations, pillars and interwoven wicker walls covered in a mixture of sand, clay, chaff and water, they would have been remarkably well insulated. So, what do we have here?
This oven.
These are the ovens. And this one here has come through. Okay. If you would like a good example of an eco-home, you need look no further than these exceptionally crafted abodes.
Na ovoj kući se najbolje dokumentuje ta spratnost. Nju smo namjerno ostavili da se može vidjeti kako je izgledala ta tavanica i šta je bilo na gornjem spratu. Očigledno, s obzirom na nalaze, da se život i na spratu odvijao isto kao i u prizemlju. Znači, imali smo peć, imali smo keramičko posuđe, moguće da je jedna mala bračna zajednica da je živjela na spratu, a da su u prizemlju živjeli ostali članovi porodice.
It strikes me, Professor, that in archaeology you need to have a good imagination as well as good knowledge as well, basically on top of everything else.
Da, slažem se da je neophodno, kada je u pitanju neolit, pogotovo u preistoriji, ali neolit kada dolazi do velikih promjena u načinu života, da bismo shvatili određene pojave i određene nalaze, nekada zaista moramo i damo malo više mašte, da možemo da dokučimo ono zašto nemamo podatke u arheološkom zapisu. Kao što je ova konstrukcija, znači nešto mora da se, jer očigledno da je ona namenski su bušene rupe i namenski da je napravljen ovaj luk. Šta je? Znači nekada mora malo mašta da radi. Ovo je osnova balona.
So we're going to have the whole thing over the top of this from here? Yeah.
Znači 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5.
Da.
Okay.
5 kuća, a okolo sve su kuće. Jedan kvart.
So there's even more around here?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
I
okay.
Odmah je sljedeći niz.
Yeah, and then they run across this way too. Fine. Wow, this is incredible. And you can see some of the material culture down here and here. Can you see these down here? There's down here and across here, just down there. And you can even see what's probably if you follow my finger, this here, where the shadow of my finger is, the handle on probably some kind of amphora or something. That's remarkable. It's remarkable. Professor, thank you very much for showing us these sites. This is incredible. It's really going to help our project, and yeah, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Also, actually, before we go, the two statues, Moravka 1 and Moravka 2, is there any chance that we'd be able to see those?
Pre svega ja vama da se zahvalim što ste našli vremena i što ste našli interesovanje da posjetite Drenovac i da nadam se da će ovaj vaš film doprinijeti afirmaciji i boljem poznavanju šire javnosti sa značajem ovog nalazišta. A za figurine Moravka 1 i Moravka 2 ćete otići u Zavičajni muzej u Jagodini i obratiti ćete se kustosu koji će vas sprovesti da vidite i da snimite što vas interesuje.
Okay.
Nadam se da ćemo se vidjeti još neki put ovdje.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Ben.
I'm Branislav. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
I understand you have some Vinče artifacts here from the archaeological dig nearby, and
yes, among others, yes.
Super. That's brilliant. May we go through?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay.
So in 1960s, some American and Belgrade archaeologists with local excavated these several sites. Mm-hmm. I myself am art historian, medievist, but yeah. I know how important they were. So
sure.
That's why this vitrine is put as the first one, because mm-hmm. These are the exhibits that come from Drenovac, from Svojnovo, and similar Neolithic sites.
Right.
So, and some of these statues were exhibited worldwide some 20 or 30 or more years ago. And this woman with child is one of the most important, and these two known as Moravka, Morava women.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think this is the best one. This return it was excavated fully. Conserved, no, not even one scratch.
It's a superb collection, because these are the things that most often come up online. When you search Vinče, these are what come up. I didn't actually think we'd have the opportunity to actually see these. Yeah. These are phenomenal. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but of the three objects in the middle, the one on the left possesses that chevron shape again. That is so prolific on Vinče items. You see it on bucranium, and you see it on vessels. That's excellent. That's excellent. There's these. I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
These zoomorphic heads. When we were at Brdo, one of the archaeologists said that one of the possible theories about these is that it's an owl's head.
Owl. It looks like owl.
It does, doesn't it? And obviously they go on the top of some kind of vessel, and they think the vessel is for grain, and the owl is symbolic of protecting the grain against mice.
Oh, good.
So but it makes sense.
That's logical.
Yeah.
Right.
So I noticed that a lot of these have actually been reconstructed, but the three figures that are here, they haven't, have they? They are.
Yeah, well, this
or
one.
Apart from this
so
one.
That's why you have difference in color.
Okay.
So it was found fragmented. Okay. So these are fully preserved, unlike this one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so they call it Morava Woman 1, Morava Woman 2.
Okay.
That's right.
That's right. Because when we were at the Belgrade Museum, we saw the one you have in the centre with the mother and child as a big picture, but I didn't think we'd actually have the chance to see it for real. Thank you very much for showing us the collection.
You're welcome.
It's been an absolute pleasure,
You're
and
welcome.
I hope we haven't taken up too much of your time.
No,
Thank you.
It's all right.
I've just realised I'm holding this. I'm holding this like she's holding her child. I don't want to break it. Just amazing. It doesn't take much really to see that these people were a very proud people. Well, this is it. It's the end of my trip here in Serbia. I'm a little bit sad. I've had a really good time, actually. But more importantly, what have I learnt about Vinče culture and the Vinče people? We're looking at the beginning of the modern age. An age where human beings flourished. An age where it's not just about the settlements, it's not just about the agriculture, and it's not just about the copper. We learnt about the endeavours, and I think we got a little deeper into understanding another part of our nature as human beings. Anyway, goodbye Serbia, and I'll see you soon. My plane. I'll catch you later, okay? See ya. I'm ready, mate. It is fitting that our journey should end here, at the British Museum. This is where the lost Vinče collection from Brdo is now kept. And we are currently working to arrange a visit to the museum for Professor Jakšić, so he can come and study the collection himself. But more importantly, what we've learnt about Vinče culture is that they were a highly industrious and forward-thinking people who revolutionised humanity's social and industrial landscape, instigating what could be called the beginnings of the modern age, an age we live in today. And that is their legacy.